Hello, everyone, and welcome to Takeover United Pod, the world's most depressing podcast. So, we are back today after yesterday's game where we played Brentford at the Gtech Stadium and lost by 3 goals to 1 in honestly a performance that doesn't surprise this podcast at all at this point. So, yeah, before we dive in, please, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch, make sure to follow us, subscribe to us, and support the channel, and so that we keep putting on more content like this on the world's foremost Amorim Out podcast. So
Pretty much the only one.
yeah, pretty much. I think it's it really boggles the mind, Somdeep, that how much leeway United fans are willing to give Ruben Amorim, right?
Right.
And the reason I say this is because we are currently 15th in the table at as of recording this. Of course, if Newcastle give up their their draw to Arsenal, we'll be back to 14th. But yeah, 14th, 15th, in that area at the end of what is
I
game
believe
week.
they just have, as we speak, they just conceded.
Great. All right, so we are 14th. Problem solved, everyone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
so we are 14th in the table, right? And what is this? Game week 7? No, game week 6. So
Right.
and Amarim has managed 33 games, I think, at this point. He
Yes, that's
came in
correct.
at game week 12 in the previous season, I believe. Game week
Yeah.
11, 12, something like 33, 32, whatever, right? Around that number of
Right.
games he has had, or 30, was it 34, whatever, man, some number. Now, the interesting thing is, even though we are, in basically a little over 1 point per game, 1 point per game, that's what this team is scoring in the league, right? Yet, his defenders keep talking about, oh, the underlying data is looking good. Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 tactic will come good eventually. And then we'll score so many goals. Oh, we'll score so many goals, you don't know what to do with it, right? Now, let's talk about the underlying data, Sandeep. If let's take the Brentford game, right? I'm sure it's Sunday night. I'm sure by Monday or Tuesday, the Amram defenders will come out with their stats to show how we should have won the game against Brentford. Like we mentioned in the previous pod, I think the United fans are basically like England's Barmy Army, right? Moral victories everywhere. So Sandeep, why don't you tell us what our possession and how many shots we had compared to, I mean, who was winning the XG war in this game?
Yeah, I think it's become a pretty popular topic of conversation, right? How Manchester United and the underlying data is great, and that's why Ruben Amorim doesn't deserve the sack. That's why we're actually doing good. And I've even seen reports that United should be first based on the underlying data, which, as we'll find out, isn't the case. And there's been so much discourse about this that even the Athletic looked into this issue, right? And to be fair, there are things where we've done well at. We've had the most shots. All of this is before the Brentford game. We've had the most shots. We have the most XG per 90, the most non-penalty XG per 90, the most passes into. It's the sixth most passes into the final third, and the second
Yeah.
most passes into the penalty area. And on the surface, all of these sound great. The problem, and something that the Athletic also highlights, is red card against for Chelsea. It distorts a lot of this data. The game against Burnley is responsible for almost half of our non-penalty XG.
Right.
Now with the new game, it's responsible for a third of our non-penalty XG
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
one game, right? And we've played 6, and similar with the Chelsea game. The other interesting thing is And since we're looking at underlying data and we want to say that United are first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
No, let's talk about the Brentford game, right? Why don't you tell our
Okay.
viewers?
Okay.
Why don't you tell our viewers what the stats were in Brentford?
So if you just look at the numbers at a very surface level, like everyone's been doing,
Yeah.
right? We actually won that game on XT. We had 2.03 to Brentford's 1.99.
Mm.
So we deserve the win. Is that what it means?
Yeah, of
Unfortunately,
course.
no. That's not what it means. If you can pull up FootMob, we will take a look
I
at it.
will. I
But
will. So that's what that's
yeah,
what I'm doing right now. I'm going to pull that up.
yeah. So the important bit of context that everyone misses with XG, and I think isn't talked about enough, is that you have to take in a factor game state whenever you're talking about XG, because the idea is the state of the game. If it's nil-nil, if it's 1-0, if there's a team leading or both teams are equal, the state of a game decides how meaningful the XG is.
Yep.
In simple terms, if your team's losing 3-0, right, they typically tend to get more chances because the opposition is not that worried about preventing goals. So they'll probably sit back, absorb more pressure, allow more shots.
Mm.
Now, these shots rack up XG, but they don't necessarily mean anything
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're often hopeful attempts permitted by the other team, right?
Yeah. So let
And if you
me.
look at the Brentford game,
Yeah.
right?
So I
Yeah, you,
just.
you got it
Yeah.
right up there.
Yeah. I just pulled up these numbers, right, and it's going on the stream right now. So,
Okay,
yeah.
we
So
have it
like
there.
you said, Somdi, we won the XG war, right? 2.03 to 1.99. We had more
Right,
shots. We had more possession as well.
absolutely.
Right,
Yeah,
as you can see, 56% to 44, and
yeah.
more shots. Almost equal number of shots on target and big chances. So somebody who just looks at this might think that,
It's gonna love
hey,
it.
yeah, this
Yeah.
this this looks great. What's the problem, right? And I will show you what the problem is right now. So remember Chesko's goal, right, in the 26th minute.
Yes.
So this, as you can see here,
Absolutely.
this is a shot, right, which got the goal, 0.35 xg. But however, you
Yes.
must remember this goal came after two missed attempts, right? Now I'm
Hmm.
not, yeah,
Hmm.
just to be clear, I'm not blaming Sesko in any of this, right? He did get us a
Absolutely
goal,
not.
which is what a striker should do. Whether it takes two or
Yeah.
three attempts, I really don't care about all that. But all I'm saying is how it inflates the stats, right? So this was a third attempt, 0.35 xg he got, right? Now look at this. Just
Yeah.
before he had another attempt, right? 0.34 xg. This was saved by the goalkeeper. And right before
Yeah.
that, another attempt, 0.31, right? So header, right foot, left foot. Yeah, he did the entire thing in one thing. But so look at this. So 3-1, 3-4, and 3-5. So that's 0.99 xg for one goal, right? So
That means
you
that
can
means
already
half.
see, yeah, that
Yeah.
half the
A half
xg,
our entire XG
right?
was essentially one chance.
Yeah, and
Like
I'll do
it's
you one
good
better.
fortune that. Yeah.
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better. So this was the penalty which Bruno missed, right? 0.79.
That's 0.79.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
That's the
0.99
average
and
XG.
0.79, right? So 1.78 out of the 2.03 xg was just in these two attacking movements. Now,
Yeah.
what is left
Yeah.
if you subtract these two numbers? It's about 0.25, right? So
That is
0.25
correct.
xg for the remaining 10 shots, out of which, sure, only two were on target at this point. But 10 other shots, your XG is, yeah, let me cut the screenshot of the stream. But 10 shots for 0.25 XG in total. So I think that should tell you, yeah, I mean, the underlying data is bad. It's a penalty. Like, if we had
I,
scored the penalty, then sure, we would maybe 2-2. Maybe Brentford never scored that goal, but we did miss a penalty.
right.
And even if we keep the penalty out, right, we just looked terrible all game. We were not creating anything. Um,
Yeah. So I
that's,
wanna highlight something there.
yeah,
And why I say that, like, the context of the game matters, right? We've debunked the myth that we created a lot in the game. We didn't create more than Brentford. Yes, we had the penalty, so granted, that is a valid
I
opportunity,
think
but
even if we scored the penalty, we can say that we didn't create more than Brentford, right? Regardless of the penalties
we
result,
didn't.
that is 0.76 of your XG. And then one
Yeah,
X
and
0.99 is your all your, those shots that Chesko took to hit the goal. So
I mean, absolutely, and we got to remember another thing that like Brentford were 2-0 up after like minute 16 or minute 20, right?
yeah.
They were happy like conceding a lot of possession and a lot of territory to us. It's a big part of why we got the penalty, right? If you look at our overall game, especially in the first half, right, uh, we didn't have a lot of threat. Like Brentford dominated the threat, and then they scored 2 goals early, so they just felt comfortable backing off. So on another day, it might even happen that we don't even get chances like Sesko scoring or Bruno getting that penalty because
Yeah.
uh, Brentford have us a bit more on the back foot. They just didn't need to, right? What I'm trying to say isn't that United are a terrible team. They are, but that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that when people look at the data and they try to claim that the surface
Yeah.
info makes us think that Manchester United should be first. They absolutely shouldn't. There is no data. And if you look at the actual information, you will realize the truth of the story that United aren't playing particularly well. Uh, United were comprehensively beaten by Brentford, who were the better
Yeah.
team on the day, while not necessarily having the better players across the pitch. And and this game is probably going to be used as an example of a game we should have won, but the actual underlying information shows we shouldn't have won this, and I hate that because this is something Amram's used in his own press conferences to highlight that
Yeah.
we uh, we actually did better on the XG, so we deserve the win. But I think that's a disingenuous use of this information.
Yeah, and I think that's the
uh,
thing, right? Pretty much every game, it's the same story, right? They keep repeating that,
mhm,
oh, the
mhm.
underlying data is better. We even saw, I think, when was that? Before the Brentford game, when Jim Ratcliffe flew to Carrington to meet
That's correct,
Ruben
yeah.
Amorim. And the media brief after that was that Ratcliffe believes in that the underlying data is looking good with Amorim, and so
Right.
he believes Amorim must stay. Like, come on, man. Two, if like two
I,
non-football people sitting here. By non-football, I mean like this is not our career, right? We both have different jobs. If
yeah,
we
at
can
this
figure
point.
out, or even random people on Twitter and Reddit can figure out that all this underlying data is
Well,
a
I want to
farce.
point out one thing. Like data is kind of our job. Uh,
No, I get it,
so
but I'm just saying that
at the very least, we can claim to understand what's going on here,
no. What I'm
right?
saying is, no. The what I'm saying is, we are not in the business of football, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people who are giving Ratcliffe this information are people who do this for a living, right? People whose
100%.
salaries are
Yeah.
decided by how good they are at this job. And
And
if
people who
they,
obviously have the bigger picture, right?
yes, and if they are feeding Ratcliffe this information, I honestly have no hope for the club. Like, maybe it's just a media brief. You just want to, placate the media.
Hmm.
I get that angle of it. But
Yeah.
to say
Yeah.
that the underlying data looks good and just repeating the nonsense that is going on social media right now from the Amorim defenders is frankly, it's just a farce, right? And I mean we can go on and on about how INEOS has ruined this club since taking over. We have done multiple segments on that, but
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I want to point out one thing. I think it's a. I'm fairly certain it's a media brief because, of course, Sajam says that the underlying data that he's been shared with by people at United shows that Ruben Amorim's doing well. My question is, Sajim and Dan Ashworth, uh, they both mentioned that United don't even have a data team. So who's bringing this information?
we
Like,
had one guy this year,
what's
right? We had one guy.
yeah, but we hired him like a month ago, and he was
Yeah.
the head of performance engineering at a Formula One team. So I don't know exactly how that translates to whatever this is, But there are gaps here. I mean, one of Dan Ashworth's reasons given for firing was that he asked for a data team, and it was said that you don't need
Yeah,
one,
he also
or
did not like Amorim, and Radcliffe got offended by that.
yeah, and Dan Ashworth has helped build fairly decent teams at Brighton and Newcastle. I do think some of his input is probably worth considering.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, he certainly
yes.
has seen his teams finish higher than 15th, uh, which
Yeah,
is pretty
man.
much where we are
That's the thing,
again.
right? We are on roughly 1 point per game. We are on relegation level form, and see
And
if
have been so.
yeah, see if this was a state after 5 or 10 games, I would consider that, hey, maybe we'll get better, or players need to bed in, or whatever other excuses that people give.
Right. That
But
makes sense. Yeah.
Amarim has played 49 games so far, 34 in the league. Now that's a decent
Wait, it's
enough
been 49 games.
in all competitions. That's what I believe. Pretty sure
Holy
Wikipedia is
shit.
not wrong.
Like,
But
sorry.
yeah, so he has played 49 games in all competitions from 11th November 2024. So roughly about 10 and a half months. And in
Yeah,
49
almost a year
games,
now.
yeah, in 49 games in all competitions, he has won 18 and he has lost 19, and he has drawn
Okay.
12. So I think
Okay.
49 games is a decent body of work on which to judge a performance. Right?
It's
Arsenal's
certainly a body
invincible.
of work. I don't know about decent.
No, I mean, by decent, I mean the quantity of games that
Yeah.
happen, right? So,
Yeah.
like, Arsenal went unbeaten for 49 games in their invincible run, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if you go unbeaten for 4 games, people like, yeah, whatever, it's just a flash in the pan. But you do something for 49 games, it's hard not to draw a consistent or a measurable pattern from that, right? And
Yeah. I think that's a huge sample at
yeah,
that point.
so that's what I'm saying. 49 games is a decent body of work for
Yeah.
anyone to judge the performance of, a manager.
Yeah.
And
We're talking about 4,500 minutes plus of football at that point. That's a
yes,
lot.
yeah, that's a lot, exactly. So that's what I'm saying, right? This would boggles the mind to say, he still needs time to settle in. I know we see
Mm-hmm.
all these, like I don't want to get in that part of the discussion now, but I'm just kind of, like we both talked about this offline, all the comparisons to Sir Alex Ferguson about his first season or second season and saying, oh, he did
Right.
similarly bad. But there was improvement being shown. Like, I'll just, talk about the eye test, right? Like, sure, even if results are not occurring, the eye test can tell you whether you're actually doing well or not, right? And the eye test so far has been that we are doing nonsense on the pitch. Like, people compare to Klopp's Liverpool in his first season when he was, I think, 8th or 9th, but the football looked good, or, you could see that something was happening. You don't see
Yeah.
anything here. It just hoofball for 90 minutes to the wing backs and then cross or try to bully through the pitch, center of the pitch, and nothing ever works out.
Pretty much. I like, if we want to like kind of summarize or highlight this, it's what you said. To everyone that feels that United are improving under Amorim, okay, fair.
Mm.
I want to know what's the one pattern of build up successfully and effective that United under Amorim do? Because it's been 50 games, right? That's a lot of time to
Yeah.
establish that.
Mm.
What's the one pattern of build up or uh, a successful build up that you see the United team executing well under Amorim? And if you can think of that, like please like share it with us because we really want to know.
Yeah.
It's difficult to answer that 50 games in according to us.
Yeah.
And Pratyush, that kind of brings me into I think our second like question for the day. Our
Yeah.
second,
So, yeah, my second question. Yeah, let me say this. People keep harping about the squad that Amorim has, right? That it's still not his squad or whatever. Let's talk about Brentford, Somdeep. Do you think they have a better
Mhm.
squad than us? We literally bought their best player from last season.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same team.
This begs the question: the result and the performance, and the shape of the two squads and managers. did Brian Mbeumo make the wrong choice?
I'm having the same question in my mind.
Because I thought that the question would be, did Mbeumo make a mistake choosing United over Spurs? Because Thomas Frank went to Spurs. But after yesterday, the question comes up: did he make the wrong choice with United over Brentford?
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like, as the match tells us, it's not that crazy a question, because
It's not. Yeah.
you look at Brentford, right? You refer to the changes they made this season.
They lost three of the
without a
best
doubt.
attackers in the last 2 seasons, Sundeep. They lost Mbeumo, they
Yeah,
lost Vissa,
yeah.
and not just 2 seasons, more like 1.5, because I mean, sure, Tony didn't play half a season, but okay, I'll give it 2 seasons, right? They lost Tony, Vissa, and
Yeah.
Mbeumo in the last 2 seasons. Three of their best attackers.
And they lost Mbeumo and Wissa in a season where both had their best seasons
Yeah.
in football.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, they had I think 15 to 20 goals apiece in the Premier League. Like, that's
Dude,
level
especially
of production.
Mbeumo,
That
man. He had what? I think more than 30 goals and assists last season.
I think he was around the 25 mark, but Wissa had like 17 goals, and I'm not even sure he was on penalties for Brentford. I might be wrong on that, but he racked up. I know for a fact that he had one of the top 5 XG performances
Yeah.
in the league, and all that means is that he scored goals, and he fully deserved to score them. He was in the right position at the right time to score. And let's not
Mbeumo
forget.
had 29 goals and assists last season.
Okay, that's an
28,
insane
28
amount
of that
output
was
to
in the
lose.
Premier League. One was in the AFL Cup, but 28
Yeah.
goals and assists just
Yeah, it
in
was
the
a
league.
career season for him.
Yeah,
for
career
sure.
season.
Like, yeah, 100%. I think Wissa did well. He got like 20 goals ish, maybe one or two shy of that.
Yeah, Vissa, I'm just looking up. He was so last season. What is this? He got 24 goals and assists in the league, and 1 goal in the
Wow.
EFL Cup. So yeah, 25 goals and assists last season.
It's like super impressive.
Yeah.
And I think they both like absolutely deserve the level of transfer interest they did, because these are obviously like top players, and
Yeah.
there's no doubt about that. The question is that if you look at the state of the clubs, despite, like, we talk about how Amorim needs time, right? That's a big thing. He needs time with the players. He needs time at Man United. He needs time to get his ideas across, and also there's this thing at United that a manager needs an entire new squad of 11 players to make their ideas work, right? Brentford appointed somebody who was a set piece coach with the club until summer of this year. This is his first managerial job ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not to take away from him. I'm just saying that's the scale of how difficult a situation he's in, the challenge he's facing.
Yeah.
Right. His first ever managerial job. He's just lost the 2 of the best attackers in the entire Premier League. Like, squad's been gutted. Thomas Franco himself was, a great manager. Like, he's left the club.
Yeah, he also left. Yeah.
And it's not like Brentford have, spent astronomically. They've historically not been a club that spends astronomically, and that's been no different this summer.
Yeah.
Right. But can anyone look at yesterday's game and tell me that Keith Andrews didn't outcoach Ruben Amorim?
Yeah.
Because I cannot, in all consciousness, say that Brentford have a better squad overall than Man United. We literally have the best player.
And just to add to that, Somdeep, it's not like Keith Andrews had a very good, like, history of jobs before Brentford either. Like, this guy was assistant coach at MK Dons. Like, I don't even know which tier of football they're in. I think they're in like a third or fourth tier, right? Then he was, Then he was at Ireland. He was the assistant coach at Ireland. Again, not a very, no offense to the Irish, but not a very good football team, right? Because a lot of them end up representing UK or whatever. I mean, if you're Northern Irish, but yeah, I mean, he was for the Republic of Ireland. Okay, my bad. But again, not a very good football team, and he was the assistant coach there, right? And then I think he came to Brentford after that. So
I believe he was at Sheffield and then he arrived
see,
at
yeah, so
Brentford
Sheffield,
as
he
in
was,
23.
yeah, he was just part of the backroom stuff. Wikipedia doesn't even say
That's
what
right.
his position was at Sheffield
Yeah, with
United.
Chris Wilder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with Chris Wilder. And then he came, he was just there for 6 months over there. And then he came to Brentford as a set piece coach, where he did one season and then he was appointed as a head coach after Thomas Frank left. Now, the reason I bring this
right.
up is I think by all objective measures, Ruben Amorim has had a much better pedigree himself as a manager. Like,
I think the question,
like
I think the
before
question,
he said it's a Portuguese league, he still won what 2 or 3 titles with them, right? He knows what it
he
is
did. Yeah,
to have a challenging
yeah.
season. Like I know we beat Amorim for being in Portugal, but he's better than Keith Andrews in this aspect. Keith Andrews not even a coach, and he was an assistant. He was an assistant coach at teams you would not even remember, and then he was a set piece
I mean,
coach at a Premier League team. Not a big deal at all. And
I
he
mean,
and he out tactically maneuvered Amorim. Like that's the what I don't get. Like how predictable have you become where a set piece coach till last season knows how to beat you?
I think that's like for me, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Is that yes, Amram has some pedigree, right? Obviously, he's won league titles with Sporting in Portugal, and that is impressive. But at the same time, we can agree that he's been outmaneuvered yesterday and in several games
Yeah,
in the
that's what I'm
Premier
saying.
League.
How do you get
Like,
outmaneuvered by this guy? Like no disrespect to Keith Andrews, he did very well, but
right.
come on, man. As a title winning manager in the Portuguese league, right? Like I would dismiss that if Keith Andrews was, I don't know, Pep Guardiola's assistant last season, right?
Right,
But
because there's some pedigree associated
exactly.
with that,
But
on paper.
Ruben
But
Amorim actually has good pedigree. He was Sporting's coach. He won two or
mhm,
three titles with them. He studied under Jose Mourinho. Like,
mhm.
would Mourinho do this? Like Mourinho himself has this famous quote where he says that young managers say that I stand by my system, and even if I died as a manager, I stood by my system. And Mourinho says, my friend, if you lost because of your systems, then you're a fool or something of that sort, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's like, if you die
What did
by
he
your
learn from
system, then you're
Mourinho,
just a
man?
fool. Hmm?
What did he learn from Mourinho?
No, I want to highlight one thing, because we're talking about pedigree, but pedigree is also relative, right? Like, uh, and what I mean by that is, if the Portuguese league has three incredibly good teams, there's Sporting,
Yeah,
uh, there is Porto, and of course there's Benfica, right? But if you look at the quality of the league as a whole, the
yeah.
gap between these three
Hmm.
and the rest of the league is immense. And in analysis done recently, right, over the last few years, it's actually been ranked below the championship on many occasions, or comparable to the English championship. So, it's impressive that he won those titles with Sporting, okay, and that's extremely impressive in a general context. But there's no guarantee that that success translates to
Uh,
the Premier League
okay. Sorry, I'm sorry to cut you
and
off,
to
Sondeep.
United,
I'm sorry to cut you off. But MK Dons
right?
plays in League Two, and he was the assistant coach there.
Right, but my point isn't like, I'm not necessarily comparing Keith Andrews and Ruben Amram, because
Yeah.
who knows, right? We don't actually know like who's, because it's easy to say Amram needs time at United, but Keith Andrews is under immense pressure himself,
Yeah.
right? It's literally his first managerial job, so
Right.
to me the pressure of that is much crazier. And he's had like 5 games with Brentford. He's had even lesser time. So if anything, that is the individual under more pressure, because Amram wasn't sacked after finishing 15th. Uh, I don't think, relatively speaking, Brentford would give Andrews that much room, like relative to their expectations.
It'll be
Uh,
funny if Keith Andrews finishes 15th Brentford and he gets fired.
we say that, but that happened at Spurs. Ange Postecoglou finished beneath Ruben Amram, to be
Finished
fair.
17th, won a Europa League,
Yeah,
and still got fired.
but he won the Europa League, and he won the Europa League against Ruben Amorim in a game where he abandoned his ideals to win the trophy, because he wanted Champions League
Yeah.
football, and then he wanted to win the literal trophy in front of them. Like, you're a football team in a game, and one game is between you and winning a European trophy. To me, the choice is simple. You play to win. That there is no other choice, right? And you do whatever it takes to get you across the line in your version.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Sandeep, for
yeah,
all the dunking we did on Eric Ten Hag's, obsession with transitions and all of that, even he
right.
abandoned that in the final against City and won the game because he
Yeah,
went
and
back to
there's
what
reports
gave him success with the team, went to
in the
that
first season.
system in the yeah, right, in the
Hmm.
first season, went back to that
Yeah,
for the final against City, and he won. And then he promptly
yeah.
abandoned it again
Reports.
in the next season and he got fired. But that's a
Yeah,
whole another
reports.
discussion. But even somebody
r-
like
r-
Ten Hag could, do that.
because Ten Hag, to be fair to him, wanted to win.
Yeah.
And he didn't agree. I don't think it was necessarily his preferred way, but in that
And
moment, with everything at his disposal, he chose the best way to win,
and
and
to
it
be
worked because I,
to be
I think
fair,
we were the
Somdeep,
better team in that final,
and to be
right?
fair, Somdeep, Ten Hag, for all the criticism we give about his system, still finished eighth that season.
And he was, and his head was called for finishing eighth,
Yes. And rightly so.
and rightly so, because like that is a balanced expectation of a Man United manager. Nobody's saying he should get sacked for not winning the title. He finished eighth,
Yeah.
and he didn't get sacked even then,
Yeah.
which is on INEOS. Uh, and then they sacked him 2 months later. Like the timing never made sense.
Like Sondeep, let me
Okay,
ask you this. Let me ask
yeah,
you this, right?
yeah,
So last season, and this is something that even I have said on this pod or even in other discussions, right?
okay,
Last season, the excuse given for Amorim, and again, I'm guilty of making this
mhm.
excuse last season, was that Amorim
It's
did
all right.
not get a full preseason. So
Fair.
he was appointed mid-season, at game
Hmm.
weeks, I don't know, 11 or 12, something on that sort. And if he had gotten a full preseason, he would have been
Right.
better. Well, I'll tell you, Amorim got a full preseason this year and he doesn't look better.
Okay, like to be fair with you and with anyone else saying that, I think that's a reasonable take. I think it's fair to say a manager probably needs a full preseason to at least, for us to at least realize that this is what he wants.
Yeah.
You know, uh, the only thing is with Amram,
We knew
we
what he
know
wants.
exactly what he wants. Yeah, we know what he wants. Like we're well aware of the final version of what he wants because uh, he has always been crystal clear about it. He's had one vision and he's executed it throughout his career, and he's been very clear he's not going to change. So we're well aware of the ceiling of what Ruben Amorim wants, and I don't think we needed a preseason to see that. Like,
Yeah.
I read two things recently. One was, every team, of course, changes their shape a little bit in
Hmm.
different game situations. Since the beginning of 24-25, no club in the Premier League has changed their shape lesser times than Man United. United are at 7. Uh, Even teams which have a very clear philosophy, even they've changed like 18 to 20 times, like Arsenal and Man City. They're some of the most like sort of focused ones, and but even they're at 18 to 20. Liverpool, I believe, also similar. United are at 7. And the stat gets wilder when you realize it's from the beginning of 24-25. So it includes Eric Ten Hag
Oh
and
my
Ruud van
God.
Nistelrooy's changes.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
So the real picture with Amram, I'm not saying I'm not saying this is a mark for failure. Teams can succeed without ever making changes, but
Yeah,
the
Pep's
downside is they become
Barcelona.
very
He won
predictable.
6 trophies without changing.
They say
But
that.
when you
Uh,
fail, you have to adapt, right? It's all good as
yeah,
long as you're winning games.
I think that's where a big amount of confusion is. Like even on the podcast when we criticize the system, it's not the 3-4-3 that's the problem. The
Yeah.
system is not the formation, right? The formation is just like a structure for the ideas of the system,
Hmm.
right? It's a small part of it. Uh, Even if you look at Pep Guardiola, right, he's changed his principles and the focus of his teams and the shapes his team uses every year, even in the Premier League. Uh, and I can give examples from his time at Barcelona as well. Sure, certain things stay constant, like he wants to keep the ball, he wants his team to press high and work hard off the ball, and these things stay constant, but the actual shapes change. If you look at his first season at Barcelona, his front line was Thierry Henry, Samuel Eto'o, and Lionel Messi. The second season, Eto'o left, Zlatan came in, right?
Yeah.
midway through the second season, or towards the beginning of 2010-11, he switched Lionel Messi to a false nine setup where Messi became the central forward, and he essentially had a free role dropping into midfield. So even Pep, he didn't just change, he made radical changes, right? Like when he came to England, he had John Stones initially playing as a CB, and then he moved him up and he became part of the double pivot with Rodri situationally. So if anything, a highlight of Pep's game is making constant little changes here and there to impact the game. My problem with Amorim is that if your team's playing a match and it's mostly losing, because we learned recently United have spent the second highest amount of time in the entire Premier League since Amorim's arrival in
Yeah.
losing positions.
Yeah.
41% of the time the team's been losing. If we're losing that often, clearly something's not working, right? And I agree that the players are part of this, but I think when you already have players who are struggling to make an impact on the game, putting them in roles they're going to struggle further in is maybe not the solution.
Yeah, like I
Uh,
mean, I understand that the players are part of the problem, Sandeep. But I think all I want to say is, the players are not that bad that they should be 15th in the table or 14th in the table or whatever stupid position we are. Like they're not that bad. Like, are you telling me these players, like you have Brian Mbeumo, you have Bruno Fernandes, you have Casemiro, you
right.
have, I'll even throw in Ugarte for good measure. He might not be a good player, but he's not a player who should be 15th in the table. Like there can be a good way to use him and succeed with him. Like this is
You,
just
you
a
know, the real.
complete tactical system failure. And the reason
No, no, no.
no,
Pratyush,
what
like,
what
you're right.
grinds me? No, no, what grinds me is that people say, "Oh, we tried 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 with Ten Hag, it did not work." But again, there
Mhm.
we did not criticize 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. We criticize how we was using that tactic, right? The donut
Yeah,
formation,
yeah,
as we mock now, uh,
yeah.
the
The
transition.
principles, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah,
not that 4-3-3 was wrong, or it's not that no 3-4-3 is wrong, but it's the way you use it and it's the way you adapt, right? Like a lot
yeah.
of four
Because
three three becomes three four
Glasner
three in
plays
build up or 3-4-3-5-2 in build up.
all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Glasner uses the same system as Amorim at Crystal Palace, but they don't play football the same way United do.
yeah.
And I get there are reasons for that, but I'm just saying. But you know what, Pratyush, and like, I truly believe this. The real reason Ruben Amorim and Manchester United are not doing well right now, the root cause of all the club's problems, right, especially on the pitch, is Marcus Rashford. No, I mean it. You know, it is entirely Marcus Rashford's fault that this club is not doing well on the pitch, is losing 3-1 to Brentford, is not able to beat Spurs in a European final. It's entirely his fault. Because the truth is that Marcus Rashford, as Paul Scholes rightly pointed out on a podcast recently, a new podcast, by the way, as Paul Scholes rightly said, he cannot bring himself to feel happy for Marcus because of all the terrible things he's been doing at United, especially right now. It's like he's such a big part of us finishing 15th and being in 14th and losing to a new manager who's lost his team's two best players. Right? It's a massive role. The unfortunate truth is that Marcus Rashford is not good enough to play for Ruben Amorim's 15th place Man United because he can only do it in the lowly Champions League and score braces against Newcastle for teams like Barcelona. None of them anywhere as good as United. So I think that's what's going wrong. I think there needs to be further changes there for things to improve. Uh,
You know,
what do you have to say about that?
good that you brought Marcus Rashford up because remember the game where he scored a brace. He and Xerxes scored a brace for us in the 4-0 dismantling of Everton in early in Amorim's reign. And Amorim was like, it was far from a perfect performance. This is exact quote, right? it was far from a perfect performance. Now at that point, I just chalked it up. Sure, the manager wants better, even better performance from the players and whatnot, and that was a reasonable interpretation at that time. But now, after such dismal performances, Ruben Amorim says yesterday, "Oh, when we lose, it's a system, but when we win, it's not the system." My brother, all the wins that we had in
We
the
don't win.
Europa or even that Everton 4-0 was because players abandoned your system and took matters into their own hands. Like,
Yeah,
we even went to the Europa final because Ahmad got fed up of playing the system and just, kind of took control.
yeah, and one of the reasons we even stayed in Europe was because Kobe, man, who came on with garbage minutes left, scored that
Game
crazy
winners for us.
impressive equalizer against Leon. We were losing that game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, until like honestly, like him and Casemiro combined brilliantly to score a great goal, and Kobe still gets garbage minutes. Nothing's changed on that front. Uh, but it really brings it home to me. I truly believe that the problem is Marcus Rashford. I think he's the one picking the team. Obviously, I think he's the one picking the setup for the team, and how they play, how they try to play, right? I think he's the one ensuring that we don't have any recognizable build up. So he can do better on that front. Yeah, like I don't know what else to say. I think, and I really think where United legends also shine is at correctly holding Marcus Rashford responsible for uh, how he contributes to United's failures at the moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
I,
and yeah, this is a great example of it.
no,
Like,
like it honestly embarrassing, man. Like all the pundits, just because Rashford was, I don't know, a few minutes late to training, they go off on him. But dude, Mr. Scholes, look at what's happening in your club. Or look at what you did years ago when you refused to play in a game,
we don't
right?
talk about that, right?
Yeah, we don't.
We don't,
Yeah, we
or the
conveniently
fact that he
forget
was
that,
fined
right?
for the same. Yeah.
Exactly. And okay, Somdeep, let
The
me
point.
let
Okay,
me
yeah,
ask you.
go ahead.
Let me ask you this.
Hmm.
So
What's this we're looking at?
yeah, just give me a sec. So
Okay.
I want to show you just two numbers, right?
Okay.
And
All right.
so these are okay. It's on the stream now. Okay, so these are the numbers of two managers, right?
Right.
To be fair, I mean, we are trying to make a point here, right? So I'll just say, I want to ask you which, if you had to pick between these two managers,
Okay.
which manager would you
Pick
pick?
forward. Pick forward.
To manage United, right? Let's say these two are managers who have been, highly rated as the future of football, right? Who will come good
Uh,
eventually.
are they better managers than Marcus Rashford?
Okay, enough of a Rashford stick, but
Fair.
but yeah, just tell me, in among these two managers, who would you pick
Okay.
to manage United?
It, like, if I'm being completely serious, I'd pick neither because, like, honestly, that's like for context, like those numbers are so bad that uh I guess the guy on the right, if I have to choose,
Okay. I mean, no, both. I know
right?
both the numbers are bad, but if you had to really pick between the two, you pick the guy on the right.
I mean, yeah, he has a higher win rate. They're conceding lesser goals. They're scoring more. They've lost less games. Yeah, it's pretty much a no-brainer.
Okay, Somdeep, the guy on the right, the stats, those are Gary Neville's at Valencia in all competitions.
Wait, uh,
And
I tell me the left is
the left
who I
is
think it
Ruben
is.
Amorim. This was in May 2025, and Sky Sports ran this graphic. So this was the left is Ruben Amorim in the league. That's why I said it's not totally fair, but still
Okay,
the left is
okay,
Amorim in the league, and the right is Valence Neville in all competitions. But let me tell you this: even if you want to be fair and compare all competitions,
okay.
Ruben
Yeah,
Amorim's
yeah.
win percentage is barely above Neville's. It's 1% above Gary
Gary
Neville.
Neville.
Yeah. So his win percentage in all competitions is like 36.8 or something like that,
Wait, you're telling me the
including the
guy?
last loss against Brentford.
You tell me the guy Valencia players later referred to as the Englishman, like said a lot in training, or
Yes.
waved his arms a lot in training.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So Ruben Amorim is at
okay,
36.7%, and as you saw, Neville was 35.7% in all competitions. So I mean, yeah, even putting all competitions is not doing Ruben any favors, especially considering the fact that Ruben has managed 21 more games than Gary Neville and still not sacked.
and to be clear, that was for Valencia, like
Yes.
not some like they were not in a good point in time when he took them over.
No.
Still aren't, but definitely weren't at that time. Uh, so okay, like you're telling me that the managerial armchair expert literally has a better managerial record than the actual manager.
Yeah.
And uh, I have no words except that sure, probably Gary Neville feels that he can't criticize most managers, but this is one manager he can certainly criticize because he literally has a better record than he does.
Uh,
So, like Gary Neville, I know you're probably not watching this, but if you are, please realize that you can hold him accountable because you literally did a better job with a much worse side.
hey, guess what?
Uh,
Looks like Amorim is actually turned on. Sorry, Neville has actually turned on Amorim after yesterday's loss.
yeah. Wait, seriously?
Yeah. So Gary
He
Neville.
probably read this graphic. Like,
So Gary Neville said after the game yesterday that he basically said that, I'm very worried. There's no point in me sitting here and saying I'm not. The levels of performance, the results, and the substitutions yesterday. We admire managers who are stubborn and resilient around their system. We want them to stick to their plan. But when you have Mason Mount playing at left back, you're going to look pretty stupid. He said this on television. And it has happened twice now, the first being Grimsby. The
I
first
remember.
time I thought it was unforgivable, and yesterday it happened again. He changes his back three and his back five every single game, and the performances and the results are just unacceptable. I'm really, really worried. I would never go on television and say a manager should be sacked because I know how difficult a manager's job can be. Duh. Uh, but I suspect the hierarchy at United are going to want to see a turnaround. Uh,
As it turns out, he has a better idea of the managerial job than Amram because he has a better record. I'm not even sure he knows that. But okay, like yeah, Mount playing at left back, I think everyone would agree that it doesn't make sense for a variety of reasons. It also begs the question, right? You agree, and I agree that United don't have a great set of players, right? We don't have like world beaters in every position.
sure.
Given that, it probably makes even lesser sense to play them out of position, right? Because the way I see it, we've got Bruno, uh, like the most old school 10 you can think of playing at DM. We have Mount playing left wing back from time to time, at least. We have Dorgu, who essentially ends up as our furthest forward player every game. He had the most touches in the box against Manchester City, more than Brian Mbeumo or Bruno, I believe. We basically expect him to operate like some kind of Rafael Leao, while primarily being a defender. We have Kobe on the bench, I think, where he's extremely effective for Amram. We've Ugarte on the pitch. Doesn't matter what position. It's like Luis Enrique said, I don't want to say what Luis Enrique said because that was terrible, but and we start Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw as two of our primary defenders. I know there's not a lot of options, right? But I also think that there's nothing new we can expect from certain players who've been at United for a long time. So there isn't. It's like a sunk cost fallacy at this point playing them.
Yeah.
So okay, let's come to predictions, right? Because there's nothing like new we can add here that we've not said. I think the podcast has been very consistent in our appraisal of Amram. I didn't want him to join the club,
But okay, let me
because
just ask you this, Somdeep. Is to
Mhm.
before we go on to Sunderland predictions, which is going to be another disappointing section of the pod. But
Yeah,
what obviously, I think we both are pretty clear that we don't see Amorim significantly improving for the simple reason he refuses to adapt or change. We have said that time and again.
yeah, yeah.
But
I think if he showed a willingness to change, then there would be scope of improvement. Yeah, for sure.
yes. So, but what I want to ask you is,
Mhm.
when will the tide turn against Amorim? From two aspects. One is the board, and two is the fans. And I will not take the November um, 7's package as an answer, because Jim
That
was,
is.
no, I will not take that as an answer, because Jim was very happy to fire Ashworth and pay him 20 million or whatever we paid him to get rid of him.
He
So,
was, and he did the same with Eric, I think, right?
yeah. So, yeah. So, I want to ask you, when, two things, right? One is the fans who are still defending him a lot, and two is the board, or I think we can basically just say Ratcliffe at this point because he takes decision. What needs to happen for these two to finally turn on this man? Because it doesn't look good at all.
I I think okay, for me the trickier answer is the fans, but also it's trickier because like it's hard, like there's a group of fans who want Amram out as well. So, but obviously we're not talking about people who are anti Amram. Um, so individuals who support Amram and fell, there's many of us amongst United fans. Um, I don't think they'll ever turn on Ruben Amram. I don't think so. Uh, the reason I say this is he has United in possibly the worst possible position.
Mm,
He lost a European final to Spurs.
mm,
He's gone so low that he can't go low. So I think the floor of expectation with him has been masterfully lowered by himself
yeah.
to a point where if he does get sacked, he will actually be made out to be a martyr by most United fans, claiming that this is someone who was uh, was sacrificed at the altar of the players. So, to answer your question, I don't think United fans, a
Mm.
large majority, will ever turn on Ruben Amorim, and he's going to be martyred and immortalized for finishing 15th with United. And I say that in complete seriousness.
Mm.
Um, and I'm fairly certain this is going to happen. This is how it's going to play out. Because he is going to leave the club at some point. And the
Yeah.
performances haven't picked up. So
Okay.
uh,
That's fair. What about the board?
that's the trickier one. And well, it's harder for me to predict that. The board is putting out briefs that they believe in Rowan Amram, of
Mm.
course, like any other football club. Uh, but they have a business and a narrative to protect, right? So they're not going to do it indefinitely. I do think the November deadline, it won't sack him immediately, but it will place more
Mm.
pressure on his job because we've been heavy-handed with Eric Ten Hag and with Dan Ashworth. It's
Yeah.
made it a little like it's forced Surgeon to be a little more
Mm.
conservative financially here, and also be conservative for the narrative. He doesn't want to be seen as someone who's just hiring and firing individuals. The bigger issue, I think the sole reason why Ruben Amorim still has a job is because the entire hierarchy uh, picked him. They bet on him. They sacked Dan Ashworth, claiming that he didn't want Ruben Amorim, and as it turns out, he was probably onto something. Um, so I think Berada and Wilcox's jobs are on the line with the Amorim
Oh
selection.
man, I hope so.
Uh,
I so much hope so.
I mean, it's fairly certain that the leadership team under Surgeon had three people. One was
Yeah.
sacked for not agreeing with the selection. Ergo, the other two have a big role in his selection. So I think that's why he survived so long, because the price of him being the wrong person is that they are also the wrong people,
Yeah.
right? In at least in how Surgeon operates. Uh, so because of that level of involvement, I think the November deadline is going to put pressure on his job. But I don't think they'll act on it until December, until we're well and truly out of contention for Europe. And if we're still in the bottom half at that point in December, in during like the turn of the year, is when they will be forced to act on it.
Right.
But he's never going to lose the United fans. He is going to be martyred for certain as
Yeah, I
as a
guess
savior.
you're right. I mean, Eric Ten Hag is still martyred by a section of the fan base even now.
I think. See, look, Eric had like legit successes in his first
Yeah.
season. He won multiple
Yeah, at
trophies.
least
He
he
won the
won
FA Cup.
something, man. Yeah. Got us top
Yeah, he
four. He
finished
was what,
third.
third, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there was still some tangible things to like back him up with, and tangible criticisms with the style of play and the issues that came after.
Yeah.
Amorim has backing despite any successes. So like that's quite something else,
Yeah. But you know what boggles the mind, Somdeep, is that,
right?
before we go to predictions, what boggles the mind is that we used to fire managers for mathematically
Hmm.
missing top four.
Yeah,
Now,
pretty much.
now we are saying the barometer of success is making the top 10. Like,
Like I said, there's been a lowering of expectations
there's been a
shepherded by
massive
Ruben
lowering of
Amorim.
expectations, right?
Yeah, and I
E-
think it's a very powerful narrative driven part, a lot by Ruben Amorim, because, and I'll tell you why.
he's making David Moyes look good,
Yeah, but I'll tell you why. Like because I mean, David Moyes is a far superior manager to Ruben Amorim. I think that's not in doubt.
of
But
course.
uh, when he first arrived, in his very second interview, he said that like I'm having to give too many interviews, right? If you remember, I found that a little strange because he had just arrived. He was the new Manchester United manager.
Yeah.
It wasn't it sort of expected that he would have like a large number of interviews at that point, and nobody really pointed that out except for him, right? Like he's the one who first highlighted that. Oh, like there's too many interviews. Now you look back, and ever since he has had too many interviews, right? Like way too many, and they're not in line with his job performance. He hasn't done remarkably well at United. So why does he have so many interviews? Begs the question, right? Every interview helps push the narrative that he, for whatever reason, deserves to be the manager of Manchester United, and why everything at the club is an issue, which it is, but the system and his principles aren't ever the issue, despite
Yeah.
United being 15th. I looked into it a little. I looked at Sporting fans' opinions on him when he was at Sporting. And the exact same thing happened at Sporting. He was the manager with the most media interviews at Sporting as well, right? I'm beginning to think it's not a coincidence he is involved in so many interviews. It's because the manager and the club are both happy driving the narrative for whatever mess they've created. Because honestly, people like go along with it. It's very effective, and he is an incredibly good communicator.
He is
Uh,
definitely.
this is probably like a conspiracy theory of some sorts, but it's just interesting that nobody actually thought he was having too many interviews that early on until he highlighted it himself, and then it's been common public opinion since.
Yeah.
It's true, but uh, I'm not so sure what the cause is. Maybe it's not so one-sided as we think.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Um, yeah, I mean, we'll see when the board eventually loses faith. Hopefully, it's sooner rather than later. It's already too late,
Yeah,
but we shall see.
yeah, yeah.
With that, we have one game left before the international break. That is next Saturday against Sunderland. So, Somdeep, what are your predictions for Sunderland? And remember, not that this makes a difference, but the game is at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. Because we're just generally bad, and Old Trafford's doing its best anyway. Uh, on the pod for the Brentford game, we said it could be a high score draw or loss. I believe that's what we predicted, with leaning towards a loss with like goals scored. And as it turned out, I think we were fairly spot on with how everything turned out. I think you even said 3-1 at some point.
Yeah, I said 2-2 or
If I'm-
3-1. I hoped it was 2-2.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So it's like good call, especially with the penalty and everything. My prediction for Sunderland is again barring a red card and those kind of things because we can't predict that. It's 2-1 to Sunderland. And I think Isidore is going to score again. Like that guy's just been on a hot streak of form, and he just strikes me as the kind of forward who will give trouble to our defense. So 2-1 to Sunderland.
Okay.
What about you?
I am a little more pessimistic. You might wonder how can we be more pessimistic when you said we lose. I think we lose by a
fair.
bigger margin. I wouldn't be surprised if we lose 3-0. Honestly.
Yeah. Neither would I.
I know it's only Sunderland, as maybe somebody would say in the comments, but
They're fifth. They're fifth in the Premier League.
exactly.
They're way better than Brentford.
That's what I was coming to. They're fifth in the table. They're level on points with Tottenham. Yeah, and sure they haven't scored the most number of goals. They scored one
Right.
against Forest. They had a 1-1 draw against Villa. Goalless draw with Palace. They won 2-1 against Brentford, and they
Right.
lost to Burnley 2-0, which was again, like I said, they're not that good a team, but
Right. They're up and down the promoted side.
they beat West Ham 3-0. But we are not that good a team either. So I think it'll be 2-0, but I really won't be surprised if it's 3-0 also.
Yeah. Like, essentially, we foresee a Sunderland win. Is
Yeah.
especially like I think it's the kind of game which is a banana skin for United under Amorim. With most games, but especially a game like this, it's a team that's happy to give up the ball and hit us on the counter attack. Like it's a definite weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's all we have for you today.
Yeah.
Once again, make sure to make sure to leave a comment on what you think your predictions for the Sunderland game are, and we will see you after the Sunderland game, right before the international break.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.